Hey everyone, this is the Undead Viking here, and this is Underworld. Underworld is a living card game, trading card game, CCG. I think it's LCG. Well, you know, whatever. You know the type of game that I'm talking about. A game that you are going to collect different cards that you're going to create into decks, and then you're going to battle those decks against other players. Now, I have never been a Magic player. I never have been. However, I have dipped my toes into these worlds or whatever. And this one has this kind of, this is the dystopian future, where, remember a White Wolf game, like a role-playing game? I think it was called Mage, right? And it was the idea that all these people were, like, magic was real, but you had to hide it. And, like, you had to, like, you know, come up with ways to pretend that you weren't actually using the powers that you have, if that makes sense. Like, so take, like, that kind of world, add a bunch of really weird dystopian, you know, like, futuristic evilness going on, and then all these little secret factions, these secret cabals working against one another, trying to like gain control over very, very important parts of the world. So it's like you got a little bit of that Mage game, you got a little bit of like remember the old werewolf game? And a lot of these old White Wolf games, like Vampire the Masquerade, but not necessarily exactly that, if you will. I've never been a huge Magic the Gathering player. I mean, I've never been a huge trading card player. I mean, it's just not been one of my things. I usually just don't have the time to devote to these types of games. However, I'm just always enthralled by them. I always do like, I love the art, I love the world building that goes into them, and I just always wish I had the time and the commitment to go ahead and actually like really, you know, get involved, get all grimy and dirty within like the different mechanisms and everything, and like create that perfect deck. Now, this game reminded me a lot, and I'm going to mention this probably in when I show you how the game is played, but it reminded me a lot of like the only time I ever came close to being really, really heavily into this whole like living card game world, if you will. So let me show you like just a sample turn of the game to give you an idea of how it is played. I mean, there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to show you all the factions and all the different cards and everything that's going on. I invite you to go ahead and check out the Kickstarter page, and you can go ahead and check that out, or go to the game's website, and you can take a deeper dive, if you will, into the world, into the mechanisms and things like that. But I want to give you a brief taste of how it works, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, sweet. Alright, I'm going to give you an idea of how Underworld is played, and by doing that I'm going to show you one player's turn in a game that has already started, has been played for a little while. I've kind of manufactured this situation a little bit, but I just did it so I can show you some of the mechanisms. Right now we have two players playing. We have one person playing the Guardians. They're kind of a, well, they're a good faction, I guess, in this world that they've created. And then they're playing against the Bell's Church. And the Bell's Church is maybe not so good, as I'm just going to go ahead and show you, you know, one of their, yeah, like they have demons and devils and what have you, pyromaniacs and other people that are for them. So this is kind of a classic good versus evil, but I'm going to be taking the Guardian's turn, which is right here. I just want to tell you exactly what you're looking at so you have an idea. There is the first player token. This is an important token. When we get to the confrontations, the first player token can be used by the person who has it to break ties. It's a one-time effect, and they have to pay a cost to do so, but it can be very important when you're trying to break one of the three confrontations you're going to have for the three different locations that we're currently fighting over. I'm just going to go ahead and pick one of these up so you can kind of see it. So as you can see, this is the location of Hong Kong, and it has an area, which location area, kind of interchangeable there. This 3 up here means as soon as somebody has 3 influence tokens, so you can see these are the influence tokens, and you might notice that there's already some here on that spot, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Once there are 3, you can claim this area, and it's going to be worth 3 points. The goal of this game is to get to 8 points by taking over these spots. Now over here, you can see here it says win and trigger. Like each player can search their library for an attachment card, reveal it, and put it into their hands, then shuffle their library. When you win this, you have the option of using that function. If you don't want that to occur, you can just say, I'm not going to do that. It's up to you once you claim that area. All right, both players have their deck, which is right here, and right here for this player. They have assets. I'll talk about assets in just a little bit. The assets are kind of your resources. As you place them down, you're taking cards out of your hand that could be used for lots of different things, but instead what you're doing is you're just turning them into a resource. And when you tap these, you're going to basically they're going to earn you like a coin or an energy, one for each one. Basically, when you use it as an asset, you're erasing everything off the card except for the faction that it is and the fact that it's going to be worth one. And you can see over here, they have 3 to 2 assets. And then you're going to have 6 cards in your hand. This is a fairly static situation where you're going to be having these cards in your hand, and that's the starting hand that you start with, 6. Alright, so as this turn begins, the beginning stage is what it's called. This is the reset step. Now, if any of these cards or anything was exhausted, you will unexhaust them at this time. Both players will do this. This isn't kind of an I go, you go type of situation. You go through each of these steps, both players do, but you do have a first player. Then you're going to draw a card and place it into your hand. So you're just going to take the top card off the deck. Let's see here. I might as well just show you like this. Up here, as you can see, is what's called an attachment card. Attachments are cards that you, as you probably guess, you're going to attach to cards that are already out there and attach them to these areas, and they're going to add different effects and different powers and different abilities to those situations. After each person draws a card, now you're going to move into the action step. Now, when you move into the action step, each player, starting with the first player, they are going to go ahead and carry out a standard action until they decide they're done. And then the other player can go. Now, there are certain things that they can interrupt that. If a character on the board has, and I'm just going to grab this one, not that I'm going to use it, but you might know, if you have a character or ability that has this little lightning bolt on it, what that means is that it is an interrupt. You can stop it, pay the cost, and you can react. Now, and just so you know, like, as you're playing these cards and playing these actions, you do pause and let the other player react to what you're doing. This isn't one thing where it's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, haha, I went too fast, you can't. No, you give the other player a chance to do something. So one of the things that you can do during this phase is, upon looking at your cards, you can add an asset to your total tableau, meaning that you're going to gain points. So, like, just looking at my cards, and I'm not going to go too in-depth here, but once again, I kind of manufactured this a little bit. I took, and I have 2 of the same card. This card is known as, like, right there it says Character, Human Mage, and this is the Guardians. And so these are a pretty powerful card, but I got 2 of them. I'm going to place one down here as an asset and put that in that place, so now I can use that. Now, I have some options available to me, and if you'll notice, I can, like, go if I wanted to with the other one, because it has a cost of 3, I could use these 3 power to go ahead, and if I wanted to, like, I could place it down in that spot. And so now I have a card, ready to fight in that location if my opponent puts one down on there. Otherwise, I'm going to be in that spot unopposed. Now, this is a fairly basic turn as I'm taking. I'm just showing you kind of, there's lots more things that will happen. I mean, like, say, like, take this card, for example. This is an event. It's a spell, the Door of Another World, and it says return a character which have a magic ability icon to its opponent's hand. And so, like, you could just use this. And notice this also has that lightning bolt. So if I used that, that would have cost me 2, and I would be able to affect them in that way. So, and there's other more powerful things I have. Like, I mean, this guy is awesome. You can see here, it's like a Demosthenes. He's a magician. Because this is like, he's a leader. He's like a singular, a unique, if you will. So I can't have more than one of these guys out there. But you can see, like, he costs 6, however, and I don't have 6, and he's got, like, I might as well show you, that's 6, the cost is 6, this is the loyalty he has, and this is, like, the health that they have. This is the damage that he can take without being killed. He can take, so, you don't want to have, if he takes 2 or more damage, he'll be destroyed. Now, these icons here are going to be used during confrontations. And I will go through the entire confrontation here in just a little bit. Now, I want to show one other thing to you. You can take a card from your hand, and you might have noticed already that there's this card right here that's face down. That's called a covert agent. For a cost of 1, you're allowed to take one of your cards, and you can place it in a location like this, face down. When they're face down as a covert agent, they don't do anything. They can't be attacked. They can't be affected. You can, as an interrupt, the lightning bolt, you can reveal them as long as you can pay the cost to do so. And you have the ability to go back and look at that card anytime you want. But you can place them down. Now, you might say, why would I do that? Well, for one, it allows you to get a card out there that, like, eventually you could use. Like, you can reveal it, and a lot of cards have a situation where when they're revealed, they enact a certain power and ability. So you can keep that in the back of your head and just say, later on in this situation, if X happens, I have this available to counteract that effect. The other thing is that they still do apply an influence to the area, meaning that, like, if it comes down to a tie, they're still worth 1 influence and can change the vote, if you will, in a particular place of confrontation. All right, so now, and like once I've used up all my like everything that I can do or I choose to do, I'll be done, and then the other player would go and take their turn. Now I'm just going to kind of skip a bit and move forward, and I'm going to move into the confrontation stage. So the confrontation stage, starting with this area and moving our way over, we're going to go one by one with each spot to determine who wins what and who does what, depending upon those icons that are battling out in those situations. Now, the first confrontation is going to be an investigation confrontation. So an investigation confrontation relies on the little eyeballs. And so you can see right here in this Guardian, you can see he's got the little eyeball there. If you have an eyeball and you beat the other player in that spot, you can take the top card off the top of the deck, you can look at it, see if it's a card that you like, and then you can go ahead and place that into your hand. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and place it to the bottom of your deck, and you can kind of move cards that you don't want in your hand, that you don't want to gum up everything, and you can move them back to the bottom. All right, the second possible confrontation is the battle confrontation, and that's for swords. We don't have one in this situation, so I'm going to move forward. We're going to do the next one, and we're going to see those battle confrontations here in just a little bit. The second one is the influence confrontation. Once again, I'm unopposed, and so because of that, I'm able to place one of my influence onto that spot because I had an influence. I might as well show that to you right here. I had that little star right there. And there you go. And because of that, I get to place that in there. All right, so now here is the situation. This is going to be a little more complicated right here. So if we have this, and I'm just going to kind of show you, remember that they have this covert agent there, meaning that has a star, basically. It's putting influence in there. So here we have these two, I like these guys' names, I might as well, the disaster messengers, and they have equivalents. They have 2 eyeballs, they have 2 swords, and they have 2 stars. So combined with that other one there, that covert agent, they have a total of 3 stars. So here's my my really nice guy that I have out there, and I have this mage, the green hand, Fernandor, and he has 1 eyeball, 2 swords, and 2 stars. So he is going to get beat on the investigation. So they're going to be able to take one of these cards, look at it, put it in their hand. I'm going to even out the sword, so there's no combat that occurs in this situation. If combat does occur, what happens is that the difference is done to the people that are defending that particular spot. And I should mention, just so you know, that if for whatever reason, like you exhaust one of your characters or assets in these situations, they are no longer considered to be part of those confrontations because they're exhausted. They can't take a part of it. So, and that's going to come into play here in just a moment. So just keep that in mind. All right. And then also, because they have this covert agent here, they're going to go ahead and actually get a star into that spot, working on their way to get there. All right, so moving on to this final one, we actually have a pretty interesting situation. Now, because of the fact that we have this this Ivy style scholar here, and let me just get that in there. So this Ivy style scholar, you'll notice it has this the eyeball and the star and a star. Now you might be saying, well, wait a minute, these have a different color to them. What's going on with that? Well, the thing with that is that those abilities only come into play if I have that key, right? And I should mention, actually, if I take a step back here, remember when we tied in these situations? At any time, I could have invoked if I still had assets that I hadn't tapped. I could invoke my because I have the first player marker. I can invoke that one time to go ahead and break those ties in those situations. Like I could have attacked and done damage, and timing is a big thing in this game. So like if I had attacked and done damage and killed one of these guys, that would have meant that our influence would have been equal. So basically what would have happened is like, okay, we're doing the military thing. I'm gonna, like, if I had a thing, I would tap it. I'm going to go ahead and beat you on the military, meaning that I would do damage and so forth. So you do have those things that allow you to mess with what's going on when you have that first player marker. But in this situation, we have the first player marker, so this is going to be worth 2 stars, and I've got 1 eyeball. And if we look, however, at the faceless slayer here, this big giant beastie, you'll notice that he is all sorts of awful. He has 2 swords, but he's only going to be able to use 1 of his influence. So, but he's got 2 swords. And remember, we go in order. So we have the investigation, which is going to allow me to look at a card, and I can see what we got here. So I'm going to win that one. And this one's going to be like an attachment. Let's see here. The number 6 Research Institute. It's going to be an attachment and target and seal a character into number 6 Research Institute and then get restrain 1. So, basically it's going to be something that I can use to capture things. That's a pretty good card. I'm going to keep that in my hand. But now we're going to be in a situation where we're going into the combat. That stinks, right? Because of the fact that this thing is going to rip me apart and take me out. So what I can do in this spot is that, notice how there's different cards that have powers. And I'm just going to say that I have this is an interrupt right here, and it's an action. I can exhaust a character or a covert agent by exhausting this and paying a cost. Now, technically I didn't have any assets left to do this cost, but we're just going to say we did. So you can exhaust that. Now I don't have to worry about it because remember, this one's already gone by. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exhaust this Slayer, meaning that he doesn't have any combat ability. He can't fight me. He can't rip me apart because he's exhausted. He can't be part of the confrontation. That means that when I get to him here, I'm going to have the influence that I'm going to beat him, and I'm going to have enough influence that I'm going to actually tie in. So you see this, like Chernobyl costs 3 to do it, and then this one here, Chernobyl does 1 damage to all characters in the field. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to take any damage, but I'm going to be able to claim this card, and I'm going to get the 2 points for claiming that card. Now, hopefully, that's going to give you a pretty good idea of how this game is played. It's a lot like other, card games of this type. Living card games, trading card games, whatever you want to call it. They're it's all about the little synergy within your faction, using one card to affect another player, being on your toes and taking advantage of weakness where you find it, and hiding your weakness when you have it yourself, and just using your cards to the best possible advantage that you have. But this game reminded me a lot of a game I used to play a lot of, a game that I'm really sad that really no longer exists. But let me talk about that and more in my final thoughts. Alright, that was Underworld. Hope you got a good idea of how the game is played. Like I said, the creators of the game also have some fantastic, how to play videos and things like that. You can definitely scope those out if you want to take a deeper dive, and just go to the website and whatever. You read the rules, too. I mean, just take a stab and see what you think. But, so, what was the game? So, many years ago, this is like a decade ago, I went to Con of the North in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this was way before Fantasy Flight got, the Asmodee of Borg hadn't assimilated them yet. And, they had a room, and they were showing off the Call of Cthulhu Living card game, and I played it, and I fell in love with it. I was just like, wow, this is cool. I love the theme. I love the aspects of it, and I really, really, really liked just the way that it was structured, and the fact that it didn't really rely upon like knowing like this card and that card, and I'm going to take 2 of this card over here, and I'm going to add 3 of this card over here, and I'm going to take 1 of this card and create this like mega deck. I mean, it was just like you could just go straight faction decks in Call of Cthulhu and be fairly competitive. Now, probably not against somebody who is like super hardcore, but I mean, that was like the only time I ever really got into something, and I really started like kind of trying to make like just true factions of decks in a game, and like being competitive. And I had 2 or 3 friends that were really big into it as well, and we definitely just sank our teeth into that. I mean, I traded away all my cards to that many years ago, thinking, oh, I can always get it back. And of course, the game's gone the way of the dodo, and it's no longer around. That makes me sad. So when I play this game, all I could think of was like, this feels like Call of Cthulhu, my old love, my old like my old dancing partner, if you will. And it maybe not exactly the same theme, but it definitely does have the same kind of feel of like, oh, these factions and just at each other's throats and beating the tar out of each other. And I just really enjoyed all of the different aspects of it. It's just, if you've played these types of battling card games before, the mechanisms here aren't going to be anything new to you. They aren't going to be something like, oh wow, I've never seen this before. No, I mean, you're drawing cards, you're putting cards out that you think are going to be in the best possible situation. You're going to hope that whatever plan of attack that you come up with is going to be able to be better than what the people are setting up to fight you with. And so it's just, you got to react to what they're doing, and they react to what you're doing, and you kind of go have this seesaw back and forth throughout the entire one. And usually, more often than not, what ends up is that you come down to that 1 or 2 last rounds of just having that perfect card in that perfect moment, and hopefully being able to claim the win. I like games that give me clever moments, and which means that if I've held on to a card or put a card down as a covert agent, an aspect of the game that I really like, and then being able to spring that at the perfect time when somebody else wasn't expecting it. Stuff like that really makes the game shine for me, and it makes me really enjoy it. And it adds that extra layer of strategy, and also that extra layer of like, feeling clever that I like when games make me feel. So, just basically, if you're looking for something new, if you're looking for something out there, like if you've played out the different collectible or whatever trading, living, whatever card games out there, if you played them through and you're looking for something new, looking for a new world building exercise, a new challenge, if you will, I strongly suggest you check this out. I mean, the artwork's great. Like I said, the world building, the immersion is great, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. So there you go. If you have any questions, by all means, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. You be awesome. Be awesome every day of your life. I know it's tough. I know it is when you're having a bad day and there's nothing more than you want to do is just tell that person on the other side of the counter exactly what you think of them. But don't do it. Just smile. Be happy. Show love. Show happiness. You'll get that back. I guarantee you. The universe will pay it off to you. You get one trip. Make it the best possible one you can have. All right. Until next time, have yourself an awesome day.